Hello and welcome. Are gay men predisposed to sameness?
Tonight on Push the Button. Hi everyone, welcome to Push the Button. I'm Don Mike.
And I'm Jeremy Ronceros.
And we're here with our friends. Introduce yourself.
Tom Travelot.
Nick Oliver.
I'm Wyatt.
Yay! And we wanted to talk about the idea that do gay men tend to fall into the same circles? And if so, how do we break ourselves out of that cycle? I'll start.
I love everybody's like,
Yeah. Well, all right. So I am. Actually, a lot of us are part of the leather scene here in LA, and for years I was exclusively part of the scene. I really didn't get involved in too many other circles. And then about 4 years ago, I started hosting a bear chest contest at the Eagle on Bear Night. Now, as you can see, I am a bear, but I really never. I never really hung out in bear circles because in LA in the early 2000s, the bears and leather guys were like this. Like they never the twain shall meet. And in the past 7 or 8 years, we've gotten a little bit more of a mixing of the cultures. So for me to get involved in that scene kind of pushed me out of my comfort zone because I didn't really know much about bear culture. And it was really eye-opening, and I made a lot of friends, and it was really exciting to start getting to know other people's customs and habits and traditions and that sort of thing. Because we do. I mean, even things like leather contests and charity events are part of our culture. In a way. The same way that straight people have PTA and school board and their kids playing in football games. We have our own things. Yeah, it's like flogging. So my point is, how do we get ourselves out of only hanging out with our friends and our social circles and challenge ourselves to do different things?
I'll answer that. You get married.
No, wait, we're laughing, but you're serious.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, I've been drinking in gay bars for 45 years and enjoyed virtually every minute of it. Yeah, 45 years.
Yeah.
Horrifying, but it's true. No, I own it. And yet, being married in a relationship for the last 10 years, it's like, and also becoming an elder. This just I can only speak for this new phase of my life, but this is my new. Talk about being out of your comfort zone. Try being a gay senior. Hello, it's like, oh, he's so cute, and no older guys. Oh, he's so nice. Oh, no daddies, but thank you very much. Oh, okay.
Before meeting you, I didn't know you guys existed. I thought you guys got shipped off somewhere.
Recycle.
Palm Springs.
Right. Where elephants go to die. Party animals go to die. There's Palm Springs. No, getting older just kind of happens if you're lucky. And out of my generation, I'm pretty fucking lucky. I got to get older. And you take the vicissitudes that come with it, but it's like, for me, I'm actually at a point where I can see why you'd want to get out and try different things. Variety is very good. It broadens your experience and you learn things from people. And I'm just sort of at a point now where we're kind of like, okay, I just want to keep the family together that I've got now and enjoy the most. We've invested an enormous amount of my life in building this network of friends and working and meeting all of you and doing all those things to build that. And I'm hoping that now, since I graciously stepped aside from being in the middle of things, that I can enjoy it. I just want to be here and enjoy it. And because all of it's new, having, this is our home, our space down here, and having so many people coming through, it's been taken me out of my comfort zone and put me into a much better zone. But a comfort zone for me would have been staying home and watching TV. To get out of my comfort zone, it means hosting, and it means being there for other people, and it means, mentoring sometimes, or just being there to listen to somebody who's less experienced than I know. And it's not that I have any great world of experience other than my own life, but I've shared my life with men that I enjoy, and it seems to work. So I don't know that I'm going to try water skiing anytime soon.
I agree with you though, Tommy.
Mm-hmm.
Getting in a relationship, it's really It's what's challenged me. I had never seen a Judy Garland movie. Didn't know anything of Liza Minnelli, anything about gay culture, old Hollywood, until I got in a relationship. And now I watch these old movies with Judy, Marilyn Monroe, and I have this whole new set of tastes and things that I really enjoy that I never would have gotten had I not got into this relationship. And kind of had my eyes prodded open. I didn't get too much of a choice because when you get really close with people, whether it's a lover or a friend, you have your bonds that bring you really together. But we all have different tastes, So it's like, I love you. I want to be part more of your life. I want to do more things with you, but I know nothing about all these other things that you like. Let's try it. And I see that's. I don't think that gay men are so much prone to sameness, as human beings are just attracted to things that we like together. But we have a lot of things that we like in common. But I guarantee you could probably open my eyes to so many things that I never would have thought about, like moon cheese.
Well, and being younger, if you would tend to hang out with other people, and there are a lot of younger people that only hang out with other younger people, you would never have the opportunity to learn these things. But choosing to hang out with older people, you've learned a lot of things outside
Well,
of
that's a whole other issue called daddy issues.
And
I do think that's a big thing with gay men too. I know I speak from personal experience. I have family issues. I'm from the South. I'm 24. I was raised in the Bible Belt in the heart of Southern Baptistism. And, I gravitate towards people that I can learn from. I gravitate towards really strong...
People with better grammar skills.
I did say I'm Southern. Our education's kind of bad. Thanks, Bobby Jindal.
You don't need to challenge your life. Your life has challenged you. And you've risen to that challenge. That's amazing.
But it's like, I like going and I gravitate towards people who I say, you know what, I can learn something from you. You know what, you're really hot. I kind of want to have a one-night stand with you. There's a lot of different things, but I do like that solid foundation of someone to look up to, someone to mentor, someone to teach me. And I find that actually in a lot of my generation right now. And that's one of the things that I see brings together the likeness that we are discussing.
Well, I think it's too, is that your generation now has the opportunity to be mentored. Whereas I'm from the generation of mentors, potential mentors that died off. So there was definitely a seismic shift in the men who are in their mid-40s now. They came up in the midst of all this loss of all the men slightly older than them. So they lost this mentorship, which I think is, look at the Greek dishes in Malibu, at the Getty, of the older men giving tribute to the young athletes and all. I mean, that sort of relationship has existed for forever.
I think though it was that schism that did, and I do agree with you that the younger generation I do think is changing, but I do think there is this pocket generation of absolute sameness. I'm like, heck, there's a Tumblr or something called twin boyfriends or something like that. Have you seen that? I'm like, I do think, I'm like, we have a number of friends. I can think of a couple right now who I hope to get on the show one day. Okay, they're not identical, but if you told me they were brothers, I'd be like, okay, I believe that.
Yeah.
I do think because that mentorship didn't exist in the same way when we were young, when you were young, we immediately gravitated towards something we could identify with. We said, oh, you're gay, okay, we both like fashion, we're both live, we're both, skirt that line between masculine and fabulous. You know what, we're going to latch onto each other. Whether it's wrong or it's right, I think...
Well, it's the safety in numbers concept as well.
Well, yeah, it's a comfort. It's validation. We were validated, because if I could find someone who was like me, and they were a good person, capable of love, and being accepted, therefore I would be.
Right.
And the closer they were to me, the closer I gained that validation vicariously.
So, let's get started. Tommy, can you talk about your, did you have mentors when you were a baby kid, or did you?
Well, when I was growing up in Michigan, And I came out in 1971. There were no books, there were no centers, there was no help at all. I was completely alone. And so, no, I didn't have any mentors, but I did find, actually, the first adult man I ever had sex with was a mentor in a way. He was 42 and I was 18. It was the night that George McGovern and Richard Nixon were in the 1972 elections, and he took me to vote for the first time. I met him at a job, at work, and he took me to vote, and then he took me over to his apartment, and he started great jellying my ass, and he got off and fucked me. And that was my first experience. But before that happened, we had that moment of affinity out on, this is a million years ago, obviously, it's over 40 years ago, but I remember very clearly. I was so high school senior, just back from that, and I had a comb, and he asked to comb my hair, and he just touched me like an electrical shock. It just went, and we were making a pooch like that. That was where I went. That's where I went out of my comfort zone of being closeted to having a fully adult relationship. I was a baby adult, but I was still legal, and he was much older. And so I think from that, I managed to end up over there a few more times. There were older men around for a while, but then when I was 27 and living in North Carolina, we had a gay discussion group, so we mentored each other like this. We called it a rap group back then, and not the music, actually rapport. It was based on the word rapport. And I was tucked away, and the first person in our community died down in Chapel Hill, and that changed everything. And then from then on, it was more a battle. It wasn't about mentoring, and you got mentored where you could, but you were so busy putting out the fire in front of you or trying to avoid getting burned in the flames that mentoring was disrupted, culturally disrupted, and turned into a frightening emergency and a mystery that nobody knew how it was going to kill you, but everyone knew that it would kill you if you got it. That's what you lived in for a few years. So no, mentoring, it was more about taking care of the dying. It turned into that.
And you know, I was part of the next generation. So my first job out of college was at a company, it was a gay owned and operated company. And my gay education wasn't about where to cruise and how to meet guys and everything. It was what it was like for your friends to die, and what it was like to have a memorial every other week, and stuff like that. So, and it was great to get that kind of education, but it also scared the fuck out of me.
It was that frequent, multiple people per month.
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
One of my friends told me you'd get a phone call at like 2 in the morning, and your first thought was, who's dead now?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And so I heard all those stories, but I didn't have the kind of mentors where let's take you out to your first gay bar, let's show you how to pick up guys. I had to figure this shit all out myself. And I think when I got to the part where I'm in my 40s now, all the way through my 30s, I didn't have that instilled in me that now it's time for me to teach the younger guys what I've learned. So that chain of mentorship was broken.
Yep.
Because we had to figure it out on our own, and we didn't know to pay it forward. And now here's your generation, and you guys are doing the same thing. So we're generation after generation, we're reinventing the wheel.
Well, it's interesting.
I remember when you went through that too. I remember him. I remember him as that time period in your life, and your hair changed color all the time. You were wandering and lost. And, it's like you just weren't finding your spot.
We've known each other a long time.
It's interesting though, because I think that's one of the reasons why mentorship has actually been super important to us. But I think it's because you couldn't, because of everything that was going on. Everybody was still healing. Nobody knew how anymore for our gen, and so
And then I come along.
Well, yeah. So it's been very important to us. Even just from a friend standpoint. We've always had this come under our wing. We'll teach you what we know. We'll teach you all the tips and tricks. We'll let you know how the world works from our perspective. We're going to kind of make this up, and let's just do it. So, mentorship became very important to us because of this broken chain, and we tried to fix it as much as possible in our own way, without much direction. But, and I've seen, and I think systemic, I think your generation started doing that as well, and I think yours did as well, all focused on one generation.
I was going to say that it's almost like a trickle up
exactly
kind of thing, where it's like, you guys started mentoring these guys, and we thought we got to jump in on this, and we started helping, and these guys were helping us, and it's sort of like this chain of healing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's actively in the community. There's a couple of us, there's Manzel and myself, who are of a certain age that are still active. There's other people certainly, and I'm sure that they all have mentoring relationships, but on a very personal level. It's not any kind of organized sort of group like an Avatar or Band of Brothers or anything like that.
Well, I think that inherently is needed because there are people that learn in groups and in big meetings, and there are other people who can't deal with that, for whether it's anxiety-based or whether it's attention span-based or whatever. I think
That's
that variety. Yeah, and like that variety, I think, is what connects people because the way I learn happens to be different than the way he learns. It's just the way we've always been. So we always kind of have to go through things twice. But it's the only way it gets drilled into our heads is that uniqueness and that, I guess, that difference. You can't treat it the same.
Well, it is funny listening to the. I don't think we're generationally that far apart from each other, realistically.
He's 30 years older than us.
I just look really good. I think you really aged well.
No, I'm about 10 years old.
Are you really?
I'm 47.
Oh my God, you are. Shit.
Oh,
wait, that is bold. When you're getting older and someone says that,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Wow, I did not know. Maybe I look haggard and you just look typical.
It's
But I don't
soft living in Southern California.
He just called you typical.
No, but
That's scary.
what I was gonna say is, growing up when I did and where I did, I dealt with a lot of people passing away. Not every month, but I think I lost about 7 or 8 people to the AIDS crisis. Most of our friends were much older. My family working in antiques and arts. Everyone we knew was dead. What was interesting is there was one bar in our entire county, and then the next county over had no gay bar. So I mean, we were in the middle of nowhere. So everyone would have to come. So everyone hung out in this one place, and the mentorship was done not so much in the idea of how do we teach you to be better men. A lot of the things I'm seeing now, it was much more how do we make sure that you enjoy life. I watched a lot of people from different, when you only have one bar for a very large swath of land, you have a lot of personality types that end up there. And you have every race, and you have every creed, and type, and size, and shit. Everyone has to party together because there's only one place to do it. And what I learned was that it was more important that you could go to the bar and you could go out in society and show people that you're having a good time and that you're fun and you're friendly and you're energetic and you just have a good positive outlook. That was more important mentorship than anything else because that then encouraged other people to do that. And so it wasn't like this actual school lesson type thing. It was more of a lead by example. And if you could make sure you were having a good time and you were positive and you were friendly, then everyone else would want to join the party. And everyone came to the bar with this aspect. There wasn't any drama in this place. It's kind of funny to think. I mean, we had the shit of who stuck with who because at the end of the day, everyone's fucked everyone at the end at some point.
Couple of times.
Small talk can be very incestuous. But you also dropped the the pretense because everyone knew everyone and everyone knew what was going to end up happening and everyone knew that the idea was you're all going to sleep together at some point. You're all going to do this. You're all going to do that. You just cared more about the fact that everyone's having a good time.
No.
And I kind of miss that. I miss the fact that I love LA, and I'm very happy that my husband forced me to move here. But I do miss that aspect of just people who just want to enjoy their life and not getting caught up in too much drama.
Now, do you think, because you brought up an interesting point, and I actually tend to agree, a friend of ours has talked about going to small town gay bars in the middle of nowhere, and the Leathermen next to the Twinks, next to the drag queens, and all of this type of, all of them mixing together, and the diversity was incredible. You made me think of something in such a way. Do we think that the predisposition to sameness that we talked about could be the folly of a city where there's enough sameness for it to exist?
You can segregate when you can segregate. You will.
When you have 1,000 people who look just like you, it's easier when there's 2. and in these smaller towns and these
Yep.
smaller areas. So whereas people talk about, you know, LA, for example, because we're here, you know, New York, Chicago, San Francisco, oh, well, it's a big melting pot, everybody's here. Well, yeah, everybody's here. So it's easy to find a spot. When there's 8 people, it doesn't matter if you don't have anything in common with them. It's, yes, you're coming over and you're coming over, we're all doing it, because we only have each other. So maybe one of the disconnections is, you know, my cup runneth over. Well, sometimes more doesn't automatically lend itself to better. We have to strive for better when we have more.
I think with gay men, we might fall into the trap of our sexual preferences. You know, if you happen to be a white man who's only into white men, then you probably will segregate for the most part if you're gay, because you are looking for friends and you're also looking to fuck. So you're tending to go toward what you're attracted to.
Sorry, kids. Fudge. He doesn't mean to use the F word.
Sorry, fornicate.
You can say the F word.
But I think that it's same as, you know, but it doesn't have to necessarily be, you know, you don't like doesn't always go to like, a white doesn't always go to white. If you happen to be a Caucasian man but you're into Asians, you might go to Asian events. If you're, you know, I think that we have a tendency more to segregate ourselves based on the idea of what we're attracted to more than we are based on what exactly looks identical to us. Because if we're not into our own look, we're into something else, we will branch out. But we're branching out because of sex.
But don't you think that it sort of puts you in that position where you're attracted to a certain thing, like you're attracted to someone who looks just like you, and so you start hanging out with other people who only look like you really don't have a chance to grow, because we're all doing exactly the same thing.
I also don't think everyone's looking to grow. I think a lot of, especially here in any big city, it could be, you know, New Orleans, New York, Los Angeles, we want to be comfortable. It's actually, from what I think, you know, it's really against human nature for us to want to go out of our comfort zone. That's hard work. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, for me to go out of my comfort zone, I have to, you know, get ready. I have to psych myself up. I have to, you know, up my medication for about a week. I have to have, you know, a drink before I go to convince myself to do it. A drink when I'm there. I'm not an alcoholic, it just helps. You know, there's a lot that goes into me wanting to go and branch out and meet new people. You know, I don't do well in bars because I have high anxiety. It's really difficult for me to go outside of my comfort circle and to meet new people and, you know, to try to push my own limits with people I've never met before. I want to build a relationship. I want to be comfortable with someone and then have them say, you know what? I think it's time that you try sushi. We're gonna do this together. And you know, and that's where my growing comes from. I grow from comfortability, and I think that's human nature.
Okay, so we've talked about the past. But I'd like to ask you about the future. I know that as gays gain more acceptance, there's a tendency for mainstream culture to kind of
take over ours.
Well, to mimic us, but what are your thoughts around that, and what kind of new equilibrium do you think we're getting? Like the popularity of RuPaul's Drag Race. RuPaul won an Emmy last year, and drag culture is gaining prominence more so than, I would say, it has a wider audience than even like the leather scene, for example. That shifts that forces a new equilibrium in the gay tribes.
You know, this might not be what you're looking for, but the thing about something like RuPaul's Drag Race getting such popularity, I don't like that now the mainstream has jumped on this bandwagon of this is drag, when that's really one type of drag.
Right. Wow.
And there's this rich history of drag that most people aren't even being exposed to, but now like so many people, whether it's young gays or straight people or whoever, now think this is what drag is because it's on a TV show.
Well, I think the hope, I'm so sorry, but I think the hope is that educated people, if they watch RuPaul's Drag Race and they go, oh my god, that's fun, I like this is cool, and they really get into the idea of drag, the hope is that they will then go and start researching, and that will make them dive deeper. True, the people who take everything for just face value are never going to, but it's like the same thing with everything. the hope is always that it sparks an interest that pulls people toward the idea of educating themselves.
And see, that's a problem. I actually see the exact opposite side. I see as gay culture and things that that have never been mainstream before do become mainstream, and they become part of popular culture. There will be no need to ask any questions of where this came from anymore. Why would I go out and search who these main drag who helped start drag and get it to
Who
where
Charles
it is?
Pierce is. Yeah.
Like, why would I go and research these people when I've got RuPaul and I can say, oh, it's her show, she did all this. And I can make my assumptions, I don't have to dig, I don't have to go and look for a mentor because I've got this mainstream pop culture right in front of me and I can make my own assumptions.
But there's always a different type of person. Like, they're going to redo for the fourth time now, A Star Is Born. And it's going to have Lady Gaga and whatever. And it's getting all the start. And yeah, him. And so there was going to be a lot of people, let's say 100 people watch this movie. Of that 100, probably 20 will sit there and go, I want to go now and look back and see other incarnations of the movie. So I do think that it's a small group, but let's just say it's 1/5 the population will start to look back and try to educate themselves. But I'm going to have my hope that from that 1/5 are the people who become the cultural leaders, and the rest of them are just the other people. The ones who choose not to educate themselves can stay down here, and the other ones rise above, and they start becoming the people who direct culture, who become the politicians, but also become the influencers.
Well, you're much more of an optimist than I am because I take the aspect of Feud, which we're all loving. It was a great show. I know so many people who watched that show and didn't even watch whatever happened to Big Jane.
I do think the majority of people will do that. I think it's very easy to fall into the trap of being lazy. But I do think that there will always be a segment of the population, always, that have the desire to educate themselves a little bit more and the desire to rise above what everyone else has.
See, as I said, you're an optimist.
Well, no, and I agree with that. And I agree with that generally with media. However, I do see a growing trend that, they see the glimpses of our world, they do these things, and there's almost this, for lack of a better term, cultural appropriation. I remember when the metrosexual craze was going crazy in the cities, and it was all about, straight men discovered what it's like to, be gay without all the benefits of not having to deal with women. I'm kidding. I love women, by the way. But so there's to a certain degree, cultural appropriation right now is a huge hot button. It is everywhere. Because I think cultures around the world, whether they're subcultures or different societies or whatever, are seeing what make them special on people who don't understand what it is. And it's becoming, a fashion choice, or it's becoming, this is fun, an accessory. And I think there's this little pendulum swinging, We've seen it with Native Americans, we've seen it with African Americans, we've seen it with these cultures kind of going, no, you don't get to take that. Yes, you understand what a feathered headdress is. That's fantastic. Do you know what it meant to work for it? You understand gay culture. But do you know what it's like to grow up knowing you're wrong, knowing you're different, not having any role models, having to come to terms with it, and then being terrified that someone might not love you?
But I think that's a really
different experience.
But like we were saying about the Native Americans saying, you don't get to just wear a feathered headdress, that's ours and it's sacred. They stood up and said, you do not get to take this part of my culture.
They are starting to.
Well, no, I think...
Chief Okemos has gone from my high school. Chief Okemos, Michigan. Chief Okemos.
Yeah.
And it was an Indian head, profile for all the years that I went there, and it's gone.
Yeah, I mean, things are starting to change, which is good.
But my fear is that things like RuPaul's Drag Race, there is always that fear of, as you start to make yourself more accepted, and it is shows like RuPaul's Drag Race or Will and Grace or whatever you want to say that do start to make homosexuals more accepted by heterosexuals, as they start to see things they like from it and take it out of our culture, and no longer is it... I mean, we are a small minority. If we are 10%, that's lucky of the population. I think they actually think we're closer to 7 to 8%. So it's like if all of a sudden the 90 to 93% of people in the world start to take part of our culture, it's no longer ours.
Well,
Like we lost
I
it.
also
think
like
that's
I
the
want to.
Yeah.
I'm going to express, what might be a not so popular opinion, but we have fought so tooth and nail to get civil rights that in that process, instead of saying, we as gay men, we want the ability to get married, we want to be able to, have all these benefits. Instead of saying, we want this, but we want to keep our culture, we have gone to the point of saying, we're just like you.
Yeah.
There's nothing different about us.
Yeah, we never
And
stood
we
up
want-
and said we deserve the rights because
We
we're
didn't
humans.
take our culture and say, this is ours, you don't get to have it.
Yeah.
We took the sacrifice and said, we want civil rights, we want equality. So here, our culture is now yours too.
And I think
And that was a
goes
big-
back to the theme of sameness.
Yeah.
Do we seek sameness? And to me, sameness in this context that you're
Yeah.
talking about is assimilation.
Yeah.
That's
Because
what all cultural
it's the
appropriation.
acceptance. We want
It
it to be
is-
accepted.
And I
But
think
it is-
that's
but it
the
is a
thing
closet-
that at the
it is
core
a
of it
closet,
is
though.
acceptance.
This is the distressing thing that I see is that as somebody who's older, and I was not a huge warrior, but I stood up and did my thing. And after all that fighting for us and all the fabulous gay men that I knew that are
Yeah.
gone, I mean the real characters, the real pure queer faggotry, masculine, hyper-masculine expressions are gone. What we're left with, I think, is a culture that is informed as a commodity through a TV show like Drag Race or Will and Grace.
What's my line?
And it lacks the authenticity of real personal relationships. It fills in. And what it does is it creates a pablum for the masses. We're like, oh yeah, I kind of get that. Yeah, that has a double-edged sword. Part of that makes us more acceptable. Part of it also leads to the mistaken thought on the part of younger people in the last 10 or 15 years that we have to stop being who we are. We have to tone it down.
Right.
We have to tone it down to fit, so they will give us our rights. They used the word a minute ago, benefits. Those aren't benefits. Those are rights.
Right.
There were rights that were denied to us through unconstitutional laws and actions of discrimination, which we fought back against in one of the bases of a legal system.
Right.
And so it's even that perception, and I'm not picking on it, I'm just saying it's like, I think words matter. They're not benefits, they're rights. Maybe they'll give us our rights. No, you have your rights right now, you have to take them. You get up off your ass, put your fucking phone down, or use to organize people and do something.
And
And
personally,
we have been lulled by our successes to this unfortunate wake-up call that we're all having right now. And I think a lot of people are unprepared for it. They're unprepared to deal with it.
and personally, I think instead of toning it down, we need to tone it up.
Yes.
Clear it up.
Well,
all
and
over.
that's the one thing I love about
100%.
all Popular Women's. That was our gay culture. That's one thing that was never taught to me because I came out and went full force into the
And
rainbow
you knew
line
what
of
to do.
Bourbon
And you knew
Street.
what to do. Didn't you?
And
the
our
pictures, Lord in
oh
heaven.
god. But the thing is, it's like I dove into a culture that said you stand out. You wear the gigantic Easter hat that you made from your mother's old church Sunday hats, and you wear it on Bourbon Street at 9 a.m. drinking your ass off on Easter Sunday.
I do want-
passage to a
okay.
certain degree.
I do want.
My final thoughts.
Oh yes, I do want because I do agree with this. I do want to make sure that our viewers know, and we do give it credit. As much as we have lost and we need to take back, you did say it was a double-edged sword.
It
There is a part to this
That was
though
good.
that has the excessive. Number one, not all gay men are alike. There are some people who are very naturally, that quote unquote. I have I don't think I can say what relation it is, but a lumberjack. Who that's his life. Likes football, likes chopping down trees. He doesn't need to gay it up because it's not who he is. Who he is quintessentially, and it's partially breeding, but it's partially what his core is. It's about being yourself unapologetically.
Yes.
And whatever that is. And the accessibility that we have gained with the sacrifices has helped save lives and has helped train parents to be better to their generation. Now, I think it's going to swing the other way because we prepped this new generation. Okay, guys, now you all had easy access. Now we have to go a little bit more to be more over the top. Be exactly who you are. Whether that's this calm, docile character or this flaming homosexual, just own it. Because we have the groundwork done of acceptance,
Well,
and now it can be owned.
Well, and don't shame. Don't shame someone else for it.
Whatever
If that's
their
who someone-
truth is.
Exactly. Whatever they are naturally, if that's what they want to be, let them be that and don't. They're not killing people or hurting people or doing something to children. I'm like, let them be what they are.
And you know what? This is one of the great things about getting older, because you reach a certain point where you just don't give a fuck what it is. I mean, really, because I see that now. I mean, I reached that because I had heart surgery. I had open heart surgery. It's very life changing, but it was liberating.
Yeah.
To almost die. You gotta come that close and survive. You come back and it's like, oh hell no. I am not wasting what life I have left on anybody's stupid drama.
Right.
Other people's opinion of me are none of my business.
Well, no,
And that's part of mentoring, to learn that and be able to share those skills with younger people, and not you necessarily, but just younger generations who may be concerned because they don't know, because they haven't been mentored, because they're lost and they're seeking direction. There are beautiful evolutionary stages in a gay man's life, and I think if there's anything about it that we can do, it is to celebrate all those stages.
Yes.
Because they're not a lot, and when I was younger, it was like, oh, he's so old, I don't want to have sex with him. Now that I'm older, it's like, okay, karma. I have to, and I own it. And yet, I don't go without.
Yeah.
You just have to learn to adapt to whatever age you're at. And if we can help each other do that, that's brotherhood, and that's community.
Absolutely. No, I agree. I mean, so I think it is really about just owning who you are, pushing your limits, going out there, seeking new things, taking that knowledge and passing it on. Because if we're ashamed of ourselves and our choices, we can't grow. And if we can't grow, we can't teach the next generation to grow. And I think that fundamentally is that answer. How do we get past sameness? Are we predisposed? Probably. But we can change it. And we can do it together.
And be nice to each other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you walk into a bar and you smell someone that smells like grape jelly, you say, "Good for you." I'm glad you brought that back this whole time. I'm going, what the fuck happened with the grape jelly?
That's a callback. That's good.
So next time you're at the store and you're buying some Smuckers. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us on Push the Button. We'd like to thank our guests. Thank you guys. I'm so glad you guys can speak in coherent sentences. And, all right.
You ready?
I am ready. We need to wrap this up because I'm getting sleepy. So we will see you later. This is Jeremy Roncero signing off and Push the Button.
Not Mike.
All right, let's do it.
Let's go.